So welcome. In this presentation, we will discuss the first chapter of the first module. It's all about listening. Listening is very important these days. Why? What are the factors which make listening such an invaluable skill? There are a few points, you can read them. The first thing is that these days we are facing a lot of communication situations or contexts. We have to interact with a wide variety of people. Suppose you are a businessman or a businesswoman or working in a company. In all probability, you will have to communicate with people from other cultural contexts and countries. So, unless you have got an exemplary degree of communication skills, you are likely to be in trouble. So, the first point is communication contexts. We have to talk to, we have to communicate with an unprecedentedly high number of people. The second one is we are living in an age of information. Actually, this is an example of information technology. We are communicating not face to face, but by means of cyber platforms like WhatsApp, Google Classroom, Zoom, YouTube Live, etc. So, in an information age, speaking counts a great deal. Please remember, speaking and listening are two skills that go together all the time. They are complementary, they are the two sides of the same coin. So, if you do not have high levels of listening skills, you may not be able to follow a lot of things which are available free of course in the cyberspace. So, in the present information age, listening skills are all the more important. The third point is classroom. For the time being, you are students. We are also a part of the classroom. In the classroom, we have to discuss a lot of things. We have to transact many subjects. You have books, you may get notes and a lot of other secondary materials. But in a live classroom, communication, specifically speaking and listening, are of paramount importance. So again, listening is a most crucial ability in a classroom. Another point is television. Of course, television is getting slowly replaced by streaming media like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and a lot of others. There also, most things are communicated by means of words, not visuals. So just imagine you want to watch news bulletins on BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera. They use a sort of a standardized English, international English. We also call it excuse me, estuary English. The estuary, that means it is an English which is free from accent and variations from in pronunciation. So, in order to follow news, we have to have a high degree of listening skills. Online platforms we have already mentioned. These days you can watch television programs from any country, you can watch movies, you can listen to tutorials, a lot of things. In all these situations, your listening skills are the most important. The last one is if you have great communication skills, they will ease and improve your social relations. There is a cliche. It is not a cliche, there is an element of truth in it, of course. Human beings are social animals. In a society, we communicate by means of oral language. Written language is secondary as far as social relations are concerned. In such a situation, your ability to speak and understand what others say count a great deal. Now, let's try to define listening. Remember, no definition is complete and absolute in languages, humanities, and social sciences. All we can hope to have is a working definition, something descriptive in nature. Well, I will read it. Listening is the ability to receive, comprehend, analyze, and interpret ideas and messages of other people. Listening is an active performance. So, it is one's capacity to get, to receive, to comprehend. Comprehend means understand, analyze, and interpret views and ideas of other people. These views and ideas and messages are communicated through their speech. And listening is an active performance, it is not passive. You have to be alert and conscious and deliberate in listening, otherwise, you may not be able to understand things properly. Now we have to differentiate between hearing on the one side and listening on the other. Actually, the differentiation is quite simple. Just think about the situation. All the time, a lot of noises and sounds and voices are received by your ears. You can help it. Even when you are asleep, you are hearing things. Just think about your home environment. It's not silent. It's never silent, in fact. Okay, you can see the noise of vehicles, blaring horns, maybe children crying, dogs barking, cats moving, etc. So you are hearing a lot of sounds, but the point is you do not pay special, conscious, and deliberate attention. In other words, hearing happens spontaneously. It is an unconscious activity. It is an involuntary activity. So hearing is involuntary. Contrastingly, listening is voluntary. That means it is conscious and deliberate. You have to sit up, you have to pay special attention to the words of the speaker if you want to listen. Otherwise, you will only be hearing. Okay, so the point is hearing is involuntary, whereas listening is voluntary. And now, what is active listening? Active listening is a process of completely and effectively understanding what others say. It's a valuable skill for students, but it is not easy to achieve. Actually, you will take a lot of time to achieve and perfect active listener skills. So we have already stated that it's a skill, it is challenging. That means it's not so easy to achieve. It takes time to acquire. So what happens? Practice is crucial. You have to practice consistently and persistently. You have to work hard if you want to achieve high levels of active listening. And it's very crucial. Actually, it is indispensable. It is something you cannot avoid. In classrooms, as we have already seen, listening skills are of paramount importance, so it is indispensable. So welcome. In this presentation, we will discuss the first chapter of the first module. It's all about listening. Now we have to discuss the barriers to listening. There are certain obstacles, there are certain problems that reduce the effectiveness of listening, and what are they? One is lack of interest, second is partial listening, third is fast speaker, fourth is lack of clarity, fifth is environment, and finally distractions. Let us try to discuss all these points briefly. The first one is lack of interest. If the listener is not interested in the subject or topic under discussion, effectiveness of listening is sure to drastically diminish. So that's the first point. You have to have interest, otherwise listening is not going to be effective. And there are some listeners who do not completely and sincerely pay attention to what the speaker says. This is called partial listening. Partial listening is another barrier to listening. The third one is the fast pace of the speaker. If a person is speaking too fast, we may not be able to understand him all the time. So what's going to happen next? We will lose interest. Of course, it is something that is personal, I would say. Some people tend to speak fast and others prefer to speak slowly. But the reality is that if you are speaking way too fast, others may not be able to follow you properly. Next one is the lack of clarity. If the speaker is not clear, if he doesn't have a clear idea of what he talks about, yeah, this will negatively impact on the uh, effectiveness of listening. The fourth one is physical environment. If you are sitting in a room close to the road, what happens? Surely you will be distracted by the noises coming from outside, the sound of vehicles and people and a lot of other things. So physical environment is crucial. The last one is distraction on the part of the listener. Some students have the habit of doing a lot of things in the classroom, maybe chatting or whispering to your neighbor and similar activities. All these are barriers to listening. So here are a few tips to improve your listening skills. The first one is develop interest in the subject under discussion. Then listen fully, attentively, and completely. Third one, whenever you have doubts, don't hesitate to seek clarifications from the speaker. This is going to establish better rapport with the speaker, and the net result is the effectiveness will shoot up. And avoid noisy environment as much as possible. Of course, you may not be able to have a completely silent and peaceful room, but as much as possible, try to get one. Then, on your part, on the listener's part, minimize. Actually, you have to completely avoid distractions. When a lecture is on, you should remain riveted onto the speaker. You have to pay complete and unconditional attention to the speaker.